All right, so you know how in this line of work, there are people who don't really know a ton about it, and they think everything that you do is basically hacking, right? And let's be real, do we actually bother correcting them? My mom thinks because I can type hello world that I'm a hacker. And I didn't disagree, which was my big mistake, because she spoke to her friend, who spoke to their friend, who spoke back to me, and that last one was a secret agent. And he totally thought I was a legit hacker. I didn't get a chance to talk my way out of it because, actually, hold on. I'm info dumping and your caffeine reserve is probably running out. So let's get the rundown with a beat. So there was this time where I fixed my mother's printer. Now we need you at the front lines of evil's epicenter. There's a villainous plot that's sure to hatch, and the bad guy's proving quite tricky to catch. But we found a lock, yeah, we got his base. We think you're the one to crack this case. Apps are at stake by Objective Seymour. Developers need you now more than before. Objective C? More, sir. Can't use the network, can't scroll a gripe. Once you leave, it's your mind they'll wipe. It's up to you, the clock's begun. We're looking for you to say we've won. And now here I am, staring at the screen, stealth within. Now picture the scene. All right, so I'm inside of Objective Seymour's evil base at his computer, which he has left conveniently unattended. I'm gonna try to get in. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna try password exclamation point. Let's see. Oh, we're in, okay. All right, it says, welcome back, Objective Seymour. Good, good, good. Okay. Yes, I would like to review the most recent frameworks. A framework that allows remote swizzling? That's extremely dangerous, and this one looks like others depend on it. It's awaiting deployment, which means we're almost out of time. Imagine being locked out of your UI elements only for them to be used for sinister purposes? How terrible. The idea of a weakly typed Swift makes me shudder. You'd be able to shove any type in any location. What's a double? What's an int? Who cares? Randomized navigation? Objective Seymour is really trying to pin these developers between a rock and a hard place. Gotta keep looking. Undercover threads? All threads get executed on the main thread, including background ones? That's an instant 1 star. Uh-oh. This can't be good. These frameworks are going to be out in the world at midnight. And if we don't do anything about it, every developer will have their apps taken over. We can't allow this. Okay, I need to do something. I need to calm down. I just need a second to think. Okay. All right, breathe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, okay. I'm gonna demonstrate why my mom thinks I'm a hacker. We're gonna find these frameworks. I'm gonna open a terminal window. Okay, let's see. Clickety, clickety, clack, clack, clack. Undercover threads, I'm grepping. Oh, there's an evil frameworks.json file. How convenient. All right, I'm gonna find where it is though. All right, it's in the documents. Evil files, do not open, secret plan, evil framework. This is like taking candy from a baby, which I don't advise. All right, let's go. Let's navigate to that directory. Let's see. Yes, okay, we're gonna open it, and oh, wow, this is a lot of JSON data. All right, so we've got 23 frameworks in total, and each one sounds worse than the last. But I'm in a bind here. How do I get this information back to the agency? If I send it online, I'll alert everyone of my presence, and I'll blow my cover. Plus, they'll likely trace the transmission back to the agents. Now, if I try to write it down, it'll likely be confiscated upon my exit. Memorization isn't an option either, since they do a mind wipe when you exit the building, not unlike a certain TV show many of us have probably seen. I just need to set a reminder to look at an app that I'm about to make in an hour or so. Siri, set a reminder to look at hidden apps, and I'm sorry if that acted anyone's device. I'll adjust my home screen so that way the app doesn't appear while I'm in a certain focus mode. I'll call it work. All right, let's do this. Now, I'm a creative person, so I'm going to call this Operation CRUD. If anyone reading the mission log is familiar with databases, you've likely heard this term. If you haven't, I'm going to jump into what it means. The pillars of CRUD are create, read, update, and destroy, or delete. They both start with D. Take your pick. And these are widely considered to be essentials for any database, like the bare bones. I need to make sure we can accommodate a database of evil frameworks. And who knows why I need to do all things, but I need to try and not get in trouble because my mom's reputation is depending on it. But how? This is a tough one. I don't think I've done anything like this before. I'll use SwiftData. Of course, it can do all of this for me. What a handy tool I can use to get something up and running within minutes. Perfect for a job like this. Let me, of course, review the tools that I've got before to make a kind of game plan before I get started. All right, so we've got the model macro. It's the best place to start, I think, which in this case is going to represent an evil framework. If I flag this class with my macro, SwiftData will know that I can write and save data of this type, which is crucial in this mission. I think I can also use classes marked with model inside other classes that use it, and that will be SwiftData's way of establishing data relationships, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to keep it simple and use one model. The nice thing is that it all loads lazily, so it will be enough to get the info quick. And honestly, I load lazily too. All right, so query is the next thing we've got. And we're going to use this macro to flag the objects that are being managed, such as a collection of evil frameworks on something like a SwiftUI view. If we don't already have a database, it'll make one, and it will listen for changes of state in real time, which fits the whole MO of SwiftUI. We can also pass it sort descriptors in the order which data is loaded, which could come in handy if we need an alphabetical list of the authors or some of these frameworks. Without the model container applied to one of our views, we're not going to be able to accomplish anything. This basically creates a bubble in which we can use our SwiftData abilities. It either creates storage if we don't have it already, or it's going to load what already exists. From this thing comes a model context that we can grab onto to perform the Operation CRUD actions. I mentioned sort descriptors a second ago, and it's another tool to assist in the charge, and these tools help us order our data in a very predictable yet admittedly rigid way. In a consumer-facing app, you might want to add customization to how people sort things. We're not going to do that because none of the consumers need to know that we're hacking somebody else. So we just need to get the frameworks neutralized, but it might be worth noting that using an array of sort descriptors allows for specificity within our sorts based on more than just a single criteria. And so think of like your favorite movie series like Star Wars. Actually, this is a bad example because if you know the numbering of Star Wars, you know it does not start 1, 2, 3. So think of something maybe like Harry Potter where you have like the series name and then you do a secondary sort of like 1 through 7. We're going off 7, not 8. And then also we have some things like predicates, which are fantastic ways to filter out data, leaving the parts we want in our site and hiding the rest. That could come in handy, we'll see. Now, when working with SwiftData, there are 3 big M words that you'll hear, and to be honest, I mix them up all the time. So let's go over these. The first item is the model container, which creates and manages our database. It acts like a bubble in which we can perform our SwiftData shenanigans. In order to use SwiftData, you will need at least one, which we'll attach to a view in the form of a modifier. Next is our model context, which does all the work that you'd expect from a database. It commits our data and can do things like undo and redo. And gamers rejoice because by default, your model context will autosave. The last thing we've got is the model configuration, which I'm not going to use to extract this evil data because I don't have a lot of time. That's where you would provide more rules for where and how to do things very, very specifically. With this, you can make your model container's behavior totally under your precise control. All right, so that stuff's out of the way. I did my quick review. I know about SwiftData now. So I'm going to start by creating something. But I can't spend all my time in here embellishing previous details. I've got a job to do, so here's step 1 of the plan. We're going to add a model container to some view that's acting as a container to any code that I want to access the retrieved data. And once I'm done with that, I'll create the evil framework model, which is absolutely vital to the success of this mission. Lastly, I'll prepare any view for my SwiftData operations, regardless of how the display ends up looking. clickety, clickety, clack, 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 clack. Okay, you know, do it in your heads. What we've got here is a run-of-the-mill app container. Nestled inside of our window group is our content view. This is the top of the hierarchy of our app and its views, which makes it a great candidate to anchor a model container onto. So that's what I've done, but as you can see, it's a simple modifier that manages the evil framework items. However, the window group isn't the only place you can attach this model container. You can pretty much attach it to any view. For example, we added a hypothetical model container to a VStack so that everything inside of the VStack can work within our data. I personally think attaching it to the window group is a better idea because I think I would just have more access to everything. All right, so let's go ahead and create our model next. We're going to use the model macro to flag our class as something that can represent data within SwiftData. The list of evil frameworks, for example. All right, so each of these JSON objects have 5 things: a name, a detail set, version, author, and license. Important thing. You know, it's really nice of these bad guys to license their frameworks. All right, so with the model macro, you do get conformance to identifiable. However, you don't get codable right away. So we need to add coding keys, which are just these 5 values represented within this enum. But that alone isn't enough. We have to be able to tell it how to encode and decode, and we do that here. By specifying the keys we're using, decoding is easily the most important task of the two, as it's the JSON data we desperately need to read. The encode method might not be much use to us because they'll probably catch us if we try to update their list. Wow, I'm really thinking ahead here. Okay, Adrian, finish typing. And with that, our model is complete. I'm surprised at how quick and straightforward that was. That'll definitely come in handy if I have an app that uses network JSON. But focus, Adrian. This is not the time for entrepreneurial ambition. There's a world that needs saving, and people are counting on me. So let's put this model to work within a Swift UI view. All right, so let's get started with the run-of-the-mill content view that we all know and love when you open Xcode and start a new project, as I have done. I can honestly make any view that I want, but I'm more focused on the SwiftData operations. So this is a part where you get to use your imagination. Some views that could be used, though, are lists, collection views, etc., as these are common ways of presenting data, especially when you have more than one element to show. Plus, our evil framework object is automatically identifiable thanks to the model macro, so that's a big win right there. Of course, we don't want to forget importing SwiftData because you'll get nothing but errors otherwise. But the cool thing here is that we've added the query macro. We've just added the ability for that evil collection to ask SwiftData for the items in our database, which is an obvious choice for what we're trying to accomplish. But a query wields no strength unless the hen that holds it has a model context. Cheesy, but we put our model container on a parent view. Because we did that, we can pluck our model context from the environment and use it to put our evil collection to work within these 4 operations we recently described. This collect method that I've made simply decodes the JSON. It creates a local set of evil frameworks, and then for each one of them, oh yeah, I didn't really get that far, because I don't think I can really append anything to my evil collection array, because that is a query object and it's a get-only property. And I didn't really come up with any fancy hoops to mutate it. But there's an easy way to take care of this. I'll just ask the model context to do it for me. And that's the thing about secret agents, folks. There's always someone with more clearance than you. And this time, the model context is the boss. As you look how delightfully simple that is. The only thing that can make it nicer is if I added a .please at the end. But I'm not going to do that because that is frivolous, and this is one of those times I have to remind myself that my attempts at humor are a coping mechanism for high-stress situations like, you know, saving the apps of the world. So we're going to focus on read next. Now, read feels pretty straightforward. We're going to force quit the app we made, and we need to prove that the evil collection isn't empty. I'll also apply a sort to the objects by the author. Seems pretty simple. I've rewritten my collect method to hinge upon the condition that the evil collection isn't in fact empty, which means we have data in it. Now, if I force quit this app and restart, I'm banking on the fact that SwiftData kept up its end of the deal and is holding my data. Where are we frozen? Okay, so I'm going to add a little else here and have the console log, told you so, because SwiftData seems like the kind of thing that would say that in a playful yet non-threatening way. So if I actually did this, the else condition would actually be met because the data does in fact persist. Now let's look at our evil collection variable again and prepare it for a sort. Query can actually take a sort parameter that takes at least one sort descriptor. So let's pop it in there. Oh, whoops, that wasn't helpful. Yay, it's back. Okay, so we can pass this one author sort field, or we can pass an array of them. You can pass as many as you'd like to your heart's content. I'm just going to settle for authors right now. So we have 2 of our 4 operations done. I think I can do this. I'm pretty good for time right now, and no one's caught me yet. So updating. I need to make sure that I can adjust the individual items within the evil frameworks array. You know, come to think of it, I need to be able to swap out that array entirely in case I come across another JSON file hiding somewhere. Like, what if he makes an evil JSON 2? So we're back to our evil collection variable again. Let's see what we can get away with in terms of changing values. I need to see if I can modify items in the array and the actual array itself. So let's attribute the first item in the list to Dr. Robotnik, who I'm sure is up to no good and would willingly help with this project as long as Sonic's not in a 2,000 kilometer radius. Yeah, you thought I was gonna say miles, but I got it right. And yeah, this works without error. It lets us get away with it. We can edit the object inside of our evil collection array easily, just by getting a particular index. However, we can't reassign the array completely. We get another get only error. We can get around this by making the evil collection bindable, right? I fixed it, right? No, that throws an error. To get around this, we need to be able to use both of these separately, most likely in something like a sheet or a detailed view of some kind. So what we basically end up doing is we have a parent view that has our evil collection that can pass that down to a subview of some kind that takes a bindable evil array. We're just going to use the term evil array. There's a lot of evil things to keep track of, and I'm sorry, I'm not the bad guy here. But because we can pass it to that bindable value, we can transform it inside that subview and pass it back to the parent. And SwiftData is okay with that. And delete is straightforward. We've done the other operations. All we have to do now is actually get rid of data we don't want, which sounds weird because we want all of it. But maybe we want to cross off these frameworks after we've eradicated them. Maybe we want to get duplicates and knock them down to singles. In any event, we can do a routine deletion. We ask our model context nicely one more time, except this time we ask it to delete, and it's that simple. It's gone. The thing that I find delightful about this is that using this API takes a lot less time than figuring out how to get the model, how to get the object to it. And I'm just going to touch on some things you could look up later because I am like talking to myself a lot why the world is in trouble. There's definitely more that you can do with SwiftData. That's definitely worth looking into, especially when we have the ability to not worry about the end of the world and the apps and developers. For example, filtering using a predicate, the relationship macro, making your own model configuration, and even interfacing with core data. But for now, I think we've done it. I'm going to see how things work, and we're in good shape. With all this, I can leave this place without arousing any suspicion. I think we're actually going to thwart Objective Seymour's nefarious schemes once and for all thanks to SwiftData. And with that, Operation CRUD is complete. I can't believe we actually did it. So you want to know what happens after this? Turns out I got a verse you won't want to miss. I set a reminder to open my app, found the list, found the lurking trap. The frameworks destroy, the victory ours. Now Objective-Seymour stuck behind bars. As for the agent, he became my friend, and now it's time to say... I didn't want to actually drop the microphone because that would be horrible. But anyways, that was fun. That was my little skit thing. I'm not quite finished yet. This was something that was a lot of fun to do, and I got very carried away, as you can see. However, I want to take a moment and be serious here and do two things. The first is to address something that I feel is important. I was not able to pick up on anything with SwiftData when it was announced at WWDC. My brain just does not work well that way when it's like every man for himself, and it's not easy for me. While working on this, I've reflected a lot on content creators and how they do what they do. More often than not, content creators in the community don't ask for money. They teach us out of the goodness of their hearts, and I would personally feel gross if I didn't acknowledge that they helped me with my learning process by presenting things in a way my little old brain can hang on to. And I know I joke this is the great SwiftData heist, but in real life, I don't like feeling like I'm stealing things. So for the past few months, I've learned from Paul Hudson with his Hacking with Swift materials, and my friend Tunde with his YouTube videos, and from a lot of my buddies who I got the privilege of working with at Apple. I am ever grateful to you and for all of your hard work. It is my hope that we do a better job at recognizing the work that these and other content creators do publicly at events like this. And lastly, I know while it's not an awards show, and I seem to be hovering close to that territory right now, I need to openly thank the organizers for this conference. It has been such a privilege to be here, and this is quite possibly the best time I can think to express that. It's really been such a pleasure, and it's been amazing how smoothly things have gone. You should all really be extremely proud of yourselves. And I want to thank everybody for letting me talk to you and exposing you to my quirky antics. I'm sorry, and I have to tell you, I can't foot the therapy bill. The other speakers have been awesome, and I've been really privileged to learn from you as well. So thank you so much for letting me talk to you about SwiftData and its small little intro. I hope you enjoy the rest of your time here.